Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Karen. We are in December, I believe that it is. I don't know. This is one crazy year. Shannah, don't you feel like this is an insane year?
I have no idea what's happening half the time. So, yeah, I would very much agree with you.
Yes, and now I kicked my heater over. Hold on. Oh, this is amazing. Okay. All right, there. Off to a great start right off the bat. I have a little space heater on my feet. Okay, so welcome to Paranormal Karen, folks. I just got back from Chicago. I had the best time in Chicago. I did the tarot show. It was amazing. I'm going to have a new CD out. And now I'm back home trying to juggle everything, but very excited about my guest. Her company is called Black Boots. And I have to tell you, before I even introduce, it's Shannah Warwick. That's what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. That's who I'm talking to. Shannah. Hello. How is your, you sent me the most beautiful cloth for my altar. Let's start there. Tell the people about your clothing and the things you make.
Sure. Yeah. So I make clothing and things for your altar, more ritual kind of oriented items. And it all kind of happened in an effort to not sew. So with that, I use kind of an alternative method of more sculpting pieces rather than sewing them. And it's with a felting technique. So there's a lot of like hands-on and work that goes into each piece.
And they're beautiful. And they're different. They're unique. And they're probably all one of a kind, aren't they?
Yeah, most of them are one of a kind. Sometimes I'll do a couple runs of a similar, if it's a clothing piece, but most of the altar pieces are one of a kind. They're dyed, in my iron cauldron on a full moon. Like I get real into sort of the specifics of how I'm working with those pieces.
Wow. And that's going to bring us to what we're going to talk about today, which is your astral workshop, number 1, that starts in January, and some witchy things. And you're going to teach me some witchy things that I need to know. That's what I feel like.
Okay. I think I can do that.
I need dabbling. I need kind of, I shouldn't dabble, but we'll get to that anyways. But I love that piece that you sent me. It was just amazing. And okay, so now let's get started. How did you find yourself in sort of this witchy space or this witchy career?
Yeah, so it's something that I kind of came in having a connection. I have a very strong sort of Christian kind of base where when I came into this world, that's where my family was at. And I was like, from the moment I could form words and questions, I was like, what is this? Why are we doing this? And it didn't feel right. So it's like...
That tells me exactly the kind of little kid that you were, which I love.
Yeah. And I was like, why don't we go to the woods for church? Like, I don't understand why we have to go to this place. Like, it never resonated with me. It really just, was something that kind of always was there. And at a pretty young age, I became aware of dreams that I would have that were prophetic, that were telling of other things, usually not people super close to me. It was kind of like someone that I worked with or someone that I would see often and not really interact with that much. But I started having these dreams, and that sort of fed into the other kind of ideas that I already had that, Christianity and religion was not for me.
An interesting thing you said there is it was never really people that close to you. And I know, I'm pretty good at reading my own tarot cards as long as I don't force them a particular way. But what is that? Is it just that it would be too shocking sometimes if we're dealt with the people that are right in our household, so to speak?
Yeah, I wonder if it's I also wonder if it's just, our energies are too kind of mixed in with each other to kind of get like a clear hit on someone that's super, that you're super emotionally involved with.
Right. Or we may be having those dreams and not realizing it.
That could be it too. Yeah.
Because I think that's it's one of those things where I cannot stand stupid jokes about psychics or tarot readers that like she should have known, or like the person that you're dating. How did you not know it wasn't going to work? Well, that's part of life lessons. It's very separate from
Right.
knowing everything. It's very it's like a therapist is easier to see your problems than someone in your home. So you were having dreams, and did you grow up in New York?
No, I actually grew up in rural Pennsylvania. So I grew up on a farm. So I was connected to, doing gardening and that sort of thing. So it that sort of was in my roots to begin with. And then I kind of moved away, and now I landed back sort of where I began. Kind of came full circle.
I used to have like, I don't like this state. I do like this state, but I actually really do like Pennsylvania. I end up working there quite a bit, and it really is an interesting, quite haunted place. Pennsylvania and Ohio are actually two of the most magical places, really.
Yeah, I mean, I very much still, even I lived in Philadelphia for a little while, and I would go back up to, my family still has the property that I grew up on. So I would go back up and just be able to open back up and just feel that connection and just feel just the energetics of being there feels really good.
Yeah, the energetics of the woods, which we really don't have here in California, or you're going to like a state park or something. Well, I'm sure it's here somewhere, like, going up to Big Bear and stuff. But there is something about when I go back to my sisters and I go back to my parents, there is something about the woods that is very different. You're a woods person or you're an ocean person, and I am a woods person.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was one of the things, like when we moved up to the property that I'm on now, I mean, we looked at one house and we came here, and I can remember walking back. I have like a pond and a creek behind my house, and turning around and looking at the back of the house, and the woods just said, "Welcome home." And I was like, all right, I have no idea how this is going to happen. I did not intend on selling my house in Philly, but here I am. Wow. It really called to me. And there was always something, even growing up, there was always something about this particular area that kind of called to me, and I just never got here until I got here,
Right. Now, when you walked into this life with a past life that was mostly about witchcraft. Have you ever done like a past life regression and looked back, or had any experiences with that?
No, I wonder, I really do wonder about that, because I have a sense that I came in with these tools, but I'm not sure I've had a body before. Like I'm not sure that I have. I think that I've come here in different ways, but I'm not convinced that I've had a body before. It's interesting.
It is interesting. Would you say, actually, that's a very, that might apply to more people than we think, saying that. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you have any inclination what that would be? Or would it be like a spirit, like a fairy spirit, or something that we don't know about? Or we don't see, I should say. We know about, we don't see.
Yeah, it might have been something like that. Something connected to the woods, something connected to the earth more so than being in a body. And yeah, and I do wonder about that, especially, with people that kind of struggle with just feeling confident in the body themselves. Like, I just wonder if sometimes there is some of that. Yeah, maybe this is the first go around in an actual body.
You know why that would make sense too? Is there is something going on right now in all this mess and all this mayhem, which, if I'm correct, we're sort of in it in December. I feel like it's supposed to start, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. Is it an earthquake? Is it fighting? Is it information? Whatever is this big buildup that I feel that's coming, because everybody knows I tape ahead of time. We're in October. I feel like, first of all, I'm clumsier than I have ever been. And this ascension or change of vibration is not working with everybody's 3D body. Does that make sense how I said that?
Yeah, for sure. I've felt that something personally was going to be sort of big in November, and I haven't quite looked looked past that. It's almost like looking like too far ahead. I just can't even get like much of a handle on some of it because I think it shifts so fast and things are moving so fast.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but I feel like certain things, I say them out loud and they just happen. Like it's, right. It's not taking time now.
Yeah. I'm laughing because it's like, yeah, just like silly things. Like I needed like straw for my garden and somehow like straw magically appeared the next day. I was like a bale of straw. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like a freaking bale of straw I manifested. I'm like, okay, let's like really think about what we're asking for here.
That is a thing. And that's why I guess they always say like it's easy to manifest a parking spot because you're not emotionally attached to it. But yes,
right.
I was so today, I don't know I think I already heard on the news, hundreds of flights were canceled yesterday, but I had a Sunday night show and I was supposed to fly home Monday. And Sunday afternoon, I was like, I should have said no to this show. I could have been on a plane already. I want to be on a plane. And the club called me, and Halloween evening is like, no, Halloween and 4th of July, no one goes to a comedy club. No one ever goes those 2 days. And we had great all the way up. And then it was Sunday and they canceled the show. And I jumped on the phone and I got my flight. Southwest changed my flight because I was so sure the next day when the mandates went in New York City that the TSA wasn't going to show up and blah, blah, blah. But it was literally, I said it and the phone rang. And I was home late that night, which was fantastic. But that's funny. I'm manifesting flights and you're manifesting straw or hay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we all got to do our part, right?
Exactly. And it's funny, like I said, we're in December, so I feel like November, December, it's the same thing. I don't know what this hump is. Probably we should stop talking about it because it probably already happened and we're already in the mayhem of what it is. But while we're there, before we get into your astral workshop, which I'm so interested in this. Tell me, what do you think? I know we can't see that far in the future, but there's a part of me that's like, how doom and gloom is it going to be? Or how is it going to be like, are we going to, like the pandemic went by, we're all okay. We're all here. There's a lot of damage, but we're all here. But like, what do you feel like for 2022? Are you happy you're on this farm or you know what I mean? Out in the woods, or what do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I could not be happier that I'm where I'm at. Just access to the woods in general and just being surrounded here. And I just feel like people that have been able to do the work on themselves and really ground into themselves and just know that so much of just what they need in general is literally within them. Yeah. I think we're going to be able to flourish and we're going to be able to kind of help and affect and like work on the grid sort of around us. But I really do worry about the people that have not, because I mean, it's not going to get any better anytime soon, I don't think.
That was a great way to put it. Exactly. Yeah. It's not, but if they're going to keep grabbing towards the past, it's not going to happen. Yeah. I saw a very interesting TikTok, and the woman on there said she thinks Australia is already living in split dimensions. I found interesting because there's that part of Australia that's like that was in lockdown and people were fighting and or whatever, we saw that part. That may not have been the biggest part, but then she's like, and other people are just like, yeah, everything's fine. I go do my thing. I don't worry. And I thought that's an interesting concept that we're already split.
Yeah. And I just, there's so much about mindset and, we're talking about manifesting and just like what we're thinking about. There's so much about mindset right now and just watching sort of every part of ourselves that's interesting. That's, kind of interesting to think about and where they're at and why they're there. If they're just saying, yeah, everything's fine, I'm doing fine, maybe that's just, they just manifested that. I don't know.
Right. It is interesting because as we're taping this, I'm putting together my first Patreon class, and I kind of feel like it's very important to address the 3D right now. And that's not like talking about diet or anything weird, but it's very important to address the 3D and how you're treating your body.
Yeah, for sure. Because and it's funny because it's, as soon as you start doing this work, it's not like you can just do this work. You can just do like work on the, sort of intuitive kind of development end of things. It's like all of a sudden, I can't eat sugar anymore. It's like all of a sudden, oh, green tea, 2 tea bags. Now you're only allowed to have 1 tea bag. It's like, it's everything kind of works together. Oh, you can't, unfortunately, like, other things have had, friendships have had to kind of split ways. It really affects everything. And we're just at a point where you got to pay attention to kind of all of it instead of just like focusing on one single little thing.
The big ones for me are what's on my skin. I can't, I used to always grab when I used to knit at yarn that was so soft, but now if it's so soft, it itches, or wool or something like that. And it's very interesting. There was something about, I'm sort of researching now. Actually, you would probably know the vibration of like cotton and linen and spandex and that kind of stuff against our body. It's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even just like on a physical level, I mean, a lot of fabrics, like I can't have them. They just like they make me sweat, or they just make me smell bad in general. And it's like, that's not a good look. But yeah, it's interesting. And the production of cotton takes a ton of water, and just, it's like really going back to every individual thing. And, I think that's where we're kind of like coming back into smaller knit communities, and really, you might want to really get yourself out there and get, in all different places in the world. And that's great. But also, what about your community? Like, what can how can you kind of tend the garden that you can reach, right? Like that saying, and what does that really mean, just on the daily?
That's an interesting thing. Someone sent me a website that was about smaller community, having a smaller community and trade off and helping. But, I keep hearing that, but I'm not seeing it. But maybe that's because I'm in Los Angeles. I do know my friends up in Washington, they're having a lot of meetings, and you could call them prepper meetings, but they're getting ready in case something happens. They're learning what to do in case something happens. And I find that really interesting that I guess that more people are doing that. Are they doing that in your community?
For sure. I mean, I started with my brand. I started doing the vending at the local farmers market, and I didn't really have huge expectations. I just kind of was like, this is the thing I'm going to try out. Let's see what happens. I was so well received. I can't even. It's like people are really. They just want to make connections, but they also want to make spiritual connections. They also want to make, connections to the earth and connections to where they're at, because we see that there's so many things that aren't working right now. And it's like, well, where else do we turn?
Yes. And I also have a friend, and she says this, and I think she said it perfectly, is I feel like a political orphan. There's no party for me either way.
Yeah.
That's craziness. That's so interesting too. That also, Pennsylvania has a little underground sort of witchy community, doesn't it? Like, we don't think of Pennsylvania that way, but it does.
Pennsylvania sure definitely does. And, where New York, where I am, definitely does as well. I think that it's like, even I did like a little thing on the local news, and like someone reached out to me and they're like, hey, I can't really be open about it because, my dad's blah, blah, blah. But I saw you on the local news and I really wanted to connect. And it's like more and more of that is happening, where it's like, I'm just out in the open. I'm done kind of like, who is she? What is she? Let me make my judgments. I'm going to tell you exactly who I am. And I am 100% a witch. I'm 100% like a intuitive, clairvoyant, whatever, kind of word you want to put on that. And I'm just putting it out there because people are just coming and they're like, can you teach me this? Can you teach me that? I'm like, wow, we're really needed right now.
Yes. And it's funny. And I'm actually going to do a little ad for my Patreon, which I forgot to do. But part of my, the thing I'm doing, and hold on, I'm going to sneeze. I'm going to,
Bless you.
all right, everyone, I paused it in time that you didn't have to hear me sneeze. And then we're going to talk about your new astral workshop, because the reason I started the Patreon is it's just a study, it's just a psychic and a tarot study group. And I'm going to have people on talking about their process. But I do feel for those people that can't sort of come out of the witch closet. That's what I feel like. That is where they need a community, because I've had them ask me about that before. And not only do I want to turn it into a community, but I want everybody to be able to read for other people. Like, I want them to be able to read for strangers. I don't know why I think that's the big deal on my Patreon. But anyways, Patreon.com/Rontowski. Let's come right back, and we're going to jump right into your astral workshop that you're doing in January. Folks, we'll be right back. Hey, everybody, just want to let you know my tarot class is on sale this weekend only until the 23rd, or the 23rd. I believe it runs out at midnight. So that'll be 2 days. You can get half off when you go to karenrontowski.com and click on tarot. And then you're going to use the coupon code October, all capital letters October. Also, November 1st, I finally have a Patreon. I know I'm so far behind everyone else. It is a tarot and psychic development. So it's going to be some paranormal, but mostly tarot and psychic development. I'm going to be putting up classes myself that are tarot classes, and we're going to be doing meditations and psychic exercises, and there's going to be homework and all kinds of fun stuff. I'm also going to have guests come on and tell us about their process, how they do their thing. So November 1st, the first class will be out. November 4th, patreon.com/Rontowski. So now, Shannah, like banana, I love that. Thank you for making that clear for me. Tell me, what is this astral workshop you're doing in January?
Yes, super excited about this. So, I mean, like I was saying earlier, all of this started in the astral for me. Having the dreams about people that I was working with, having, just coming into work and being like, where's so-and-so? I need to warn them about something. And they're like, they had gotten a car accident. I'm like, damn it, I'm just too late. But that's sort of where everything started for me. Uh-huh. So I started offering astral readings where I can actually, I can follow people and I can look into their space and follow and see what they're doing in the astral. I kind of failed to mention that growing up in that Christian household, I had a lot of trauma. Mm-hmm. And the way that I dealt with it was by dissociating. Long story short, it makes it really easy for me to get out of my body and bring others with me. So that's all what the workshop is all about. It's about, yeah.
And say that one more time. I had to adjust my volume. You said when you had your childhood, what led you to this?
So in childhood, I had a lot of trauma, and the way that I dealt with it was by dissociating. Oh, yes. So literally leaving my body. And it's something now as an adult, I've learned to be able to control. So I can leave my body and I can kind of bring others with me. And that's what the astral workshop is all about. It's about having the tools within your bedroom, setting your space, clearing out previous astral bodies, looking at the astral door, and then moving out of your body and kind of coming up into higher self, into the astral realm. Just kind of depending on the students, I sort of will get an intuitive hit of how kind of far out we'll go. But I teach you, how to do that on your own. I'm not just like a person. I'm not a gatekeeper. Everything that I do, I teach is because I do it myself, and I'm giving you the tools so that you can do it yourself. I'm really
fascinating. And a couple of things. I wonder if this leads back to that part where you were saying that you don't know if you had a body before.
Yeah, it could definitely be part of it. Because it is
that because this is what you did.
Yeah. Dissociating. It's just, it was a natural thing, for me to do. And it still is. And I work hard. It's a daily practice for me to, especially with the type of, working with other people, reading for other people. Like, it's a daily practice for me to ground in, to run earth and cosmic energy simultaneously through my body so that I stay here and can continue to function as a person, as a human.
Okay, so I have a million questions. Okay, so let's say when people astral project, what is sort of the goal? I know this is a weird question, but like, are we looking to meet other people, to meet our higher selves, to have a conversation with so and so? What does that actually? What is the goal?
Yeah, I mean, you can have different goals. And one of the biggest goals that I like to teach is manifesting, because I really believe, especially with using certain plants, mugwort is like very prevalent on my property, using the astral, using the dream space as a manifestation, creating within the astral, so then you can pull it into the waking life, especially if you're having trouble manifesting in the waking life. You can create in the astral first and then bring it in. But, from there, it's like it can open up to your playground. You can project, you can get yourself way far out and just, connect with kind of the oneness of the universe. You can kind of like go off into different realms, meet different guides or beings that you want to work with. It's really kind of open. I like to teach it again for manifestation, just because I think it's really important to have as many tools for manifesting and having the life that you want right now as possible.
Now, it's interesting that as somebody that's been out of her, I've had one or a couple out of body experiences, not a million, but enough. It seems to me like that when you're out of your body, it's so relaxing. I don't know how else to say that. It's like you don't realize how much tension and stress and whatnot is in your body until you're out of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And it's just, it's lightness. It's being able to literally go wherever you want to go. It's, there's not the limitations, and, your imagination can just kind of pull you and kind of do whatever you kind of want to do. If you want to really like kind of hook into, some of the grids that are around the planet and kind of like work with that. It's so limitless.
Yeah. Now, is there any problems out there? Are there any beings you shouldn't run into?
I haven't, I don't think that there's that many problems per se as maybe people might think that there would be, especially if you are taking care of, doing the prep work, like setting your space in your bedroom. I teach you tools to really protect the body, so there's not any like sort of jump-ins, that sort of thing. But I mean, just kind of moving out, I don't know that other beings want to sort of interact with you as much as you would think that they would, especially if you kind of keep yourself at a certain vibration. It's just kind of, I haven't had that many problems with it.
Oh, that's interesting. So in other words, I always refer back to, this is really weird. And it's so funny. I just saw my friend Elwin this weekend, and he was kind of joking one time, and he was saying how the archangels, they're not that attached to us, that we kind of smell to them. But that would make sense. A human body, of course, probably smells different to a different being. And I wonder, that's interesting you say that about the vibration. Like maybe we're just not anything that's interesting out in the astral realm.
Yeah. And I think that that's really, your intention and getting out there and doing sort of the prep work to get out there. And kind of, we even clear out, like there's a practice of using like these energetic roses to kind of clear out the astral door, so that there's not anything sort of waiting for you to kind of leave your body, go out the astral door, and like they'll just grab you and, take you wherever they want to take you. Like there's a practice that you can just really clear that out, so that there's a clear step and a clear process of kind of getting out and moving out into, the higher self or astral realm, wherever you sort of want to get to.
Yeah, because I would think, That's a very interesting thing. It would really be about bringing your vibration higher, correct?
Yeah, keeping that vibration higher. I even, when, every night before I go to bed, I bring my crown down to like a neutral kind of brown color so that my body is sort of safe. And that's the cue to my body that, okay, it's time for me to start moving into the astral. And I can feel myself moving out even before like I get my head onto the pillow sometimes. So really like setting that and again, clearing out those astral bodies, because I believe that we kind of create a new one every night. So sometimes if people are having trouble, waking up in the morning, that's like really groggy, or sometimes having trouble even remembering what they're doing, if you have a practice of clearing out those astral bodies that you've used previously, that can really help get some clarity in that space as well, and just help with intention.
And what do you mean by astral bodies? Like we have a few of them?
Yeah, like we create a new one and we move out into a new one. Like every time we kind of move out into that space, it's like if you go into, I'll have students kind of go into a meditative state and just ask to see their astral bodies. And a lot of times it'll just be like a big pile of kind of like, it'll almost look like sort of clear kind of outlines of self, because we'll create a new one every time. And if you can clear that out, again, it helps with intention and with being able to work in that space a little bit easier.
Okay, that's an interesting thing on its own. When you work with people, you do readings, and do you do clearings and clear out their other astral bodies that they don't need?
Yeah, I'll kind of feel into it, and if I'm like, do you want me to clear them out for you? Do you want me to show you how to clear them out? Do you want to watch me clear them out? It's sort of kind of depends on how the person sort of receives a reading. So if they want to watch me, I can clear them out for them. And I'm like, okay, this is how we do it. We create, again, this like energetic rose, which is kind of like this blow up sort of imagery. And we ask that rose to kind of go in and like scoop all those bodies out and then shoot it out into the universe and explode it so that it will recycle back. And and I can do that for them, or I can show them how to do that.
Interesting. And folks, there's a leaf blower out far away, but I hope you can't hear that. I apologize if you can hear that. Tuesday is a very crazy day at my apartment. It's way far out. So that already brings in a ring of questions. So when I go to sleep every night, or is it during the day that I create these astral bodies?
I mean, if you're going to do some kind of astral projection, you're going to create one. If you're going to bed at night, you're going to create another one and just like use that to, so you're creating them kind of all the time.
Wow. So our bedrooms could be filled with the remnants of those astral bodies.
Yeah.
Ah, fascinating. Now it is interesting when I was asking you about the higher vibration, because I do believe it is a lower vibration that collects attachments. Okay. Or not clearing yourself or cleansing yourself. Not all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so interesting. I really have a neighbor who, now I am starting to worry about her. The people across from me, I think she's picked up something, and she has been so mean, and nothing out of her house comes except yelling. And I knew there was something in that apartment, but there was always a young girl who moved in. Always a psychic young girl would move in, and they were always bothered by the thing. But now that I'm seeing my neighbor, it's like she is at such a low vibration right now. She's almost, I don't know how her husband is staying there. And it's really interesting how something picked up and went right in. But this gets back to what I'm always saying. They eat terrible. They have fast food coming in all the time. They're both overweight. They're not healthy. That is like deadly for attracting all kinds of stuff like that. Don't you think?
Definitely. I have to set my crown every morning when I wake up, and I check it. And for me, it's a visual, it's a color. So I check it every morning. And I'll even, when I work with people, I'll have them like go for a walk and practice matching your crown color or your vibration, same thing, to one of the trees that you're walking next to. See what, like, practice kind of changing it and see what that feels like. See, kind of trying things on. I kind of got a bit of an upgrade a couple months back, and I would go from holding like a purple, now I hold this red color. And I think that's something even, when you walk into a room, if you're not holding your own vibration, if you're not holding your own crown, you're just going to match everything that's around you. But if you are intentionally holding your own space, we do it kind of, I used to bartend a lot. So we do it kind of unintentionally. Like I would get to the bar, if I was in a great mood, my guests were going to be in a great mood. Everyone was going to have a good time. It was going to, it's like holding court. It's going to be great. It's going to be super fun. You're going to make a ton of money, like that sort of thing. But if I get to work and I'm just not feeling it, guess what? My guests, they're going to react the same way. So it's the same idea of really like being able to hold that.
That's a very show business thing too. That's a very, before a show, I'll do that. I'll sort of put out into the room what I want to bring in. This is very interesting. It's almost fascinating that you would say that, because I have been in the best mood and I have run into the meanest people, and people never, like, I'm never like that about, what anybody else has said. Whatever, or especially a stranger, I don't care. But yesterday I was like, what is that? Do you think if you're stressed or something like that, you're sending out an inconsistent vibration, and maybe that's why that would be? I mean, I walked into a plant store and the guy that running it was so mean to me, and I was like, this is odd, especially at a plant store. So I don't know what that projection was. Any vibe on that? Because usually if I'm in a bad mood, I watch it come back to me. I'm very clear on that. But this has been sort of the opposite. And it almost leads into, like, I'm not leaving LA, but there is always this question, because we all know something's coming, is that LA telling me to get out?
Yeah. Telling you to get out. Maybe it's like a test of like, how well can you hold your own? Like, how well can you ground into yourself? And it's like almost would be like how well can I hold my own? And in that holding of self could be like causing a growth spurt almost. I wonder. It would be interesting to just kind of play with it a little bit. Yeah,
I can't. It was the, it was the flight attendants. It's a very, I could not have been happier yesterday. And then I was like, what is going on here? So, that's such an interesting thing too, when we do that. Cause I know sometimes I'll hear my clients, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but sometimes when someone is getting mean people, it's because they're thinking in victim mode. Like that's what they're, but I was like the opposite. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And then everybody, I do feel like there are a certain amount of people that are sensing something weird is coming, and the level of fear or anger or post-traumatic stress is like they can't handle it.
Yeah. It's like an underlying kind of current. Yeah. And if you're not able to hold your own and able to like really work on that every day, you are going to match the collective, and it's a shit show. I mean, even think about like how you feel when you tap into certain social media, like Facebook or something. It's like, I get off Facebook and I'm like, what just happened? I feel like I'm like the most unconscious, like my energy's kind of like going all over the place, but I'm also sort of like feel almost dead. It's like, and it's just being aware of how things affect you.
It's funny because I have been off Twitter and Facebook, and all I do is post my card of the day, or if I need to promo a show, and I don't even go back and look at comments anymore. And I don't want to be like, I was always like, don't be the jerk that does that. But I have to say, since I've come off all of those, nothing offends me. Maybe people being mean, but that doesn't offend me. It's just kind of like, why are you being mean to me? But I think there's such a trigger there. And now he's doing the new meta universe, which is even weirder to me because he looks like a animated thing. You know what I mean? Like Mark Zuckerberg looks like he's animated. And now he's starting this animated universe. And I feel like that's a weird slippery slope.
Yeah, it's like what crazy timing for that too, just as people like are stuck in their homes, they don't want to be outside, or they go outside and they don't really know what to do with, like, everything just feels kind of weird. Oh, let's give them this place to be. And it's almost like he wants to, like, shut us down even more.
Yes,
you know, like put us all to
disassociate.
sleep.
Yes,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it is like they're turning us into, that really is literally almost turning us into the Matrix movie, where you're just sitting
Yeah.
there doing nothing, and there's this alternate universe, and they're sucking your energy out. Like, something about that doesn't feel right. Did you happen to see that movie on HBO? It was a short series. It was called Years and Years.
I don't think so. No.
Everyone go to HBO. If you have HBO where you can go back, watch their series called Years and Years with Emma Thompson and these people. And it was almost, some of it was about where we're going with technology. And how those filters that people put on for from Snapchat and stuff, they have where you could put them on in life, and then they had one thing where your eyes could literally turn into your cell phone camera, so you could take pictures with your eyes. It was really scary, but it's like where we're going, and I don't feel like this meta universe is this where we all get to be perfect looking and you know what I mean? Like, it's all fake. It's why are we stepping so hard into fake? I you know, it's almost like the thing that was really weird again about Australia. And if I know I have a lot of Australian listeners, so feel free to email me and correct me on this if I'm wrong. But at one point they said you can't even leave the house to get air. And I'll tell you, lockdown in California, I was out walking constantly. The streets were full of people walking because we had the weather for it. But to not even, that is like between what he's doing and this, it's like, I don't know. Let's take a break. We'll come right back, and then we're going to talk more about I don't know how we got off on this, but it's kind of weird. All right, we'll be right back, folks. Hey, I'm here with my friend Ari that hosts, or I want to say takes care of all my Zoom events, my comedy shows, my classes. Ari, tell everybody what type of Zoom events you are great at hosting.
Yeah, so I really take care of any kind of Zoom event, from a virtual camp to lecture series, cooking classes, celebrations like weddings or bar and bat mitzvahs, really anything.
And to me, it just looks like you make my life easier. I just have to click on and talk, which is beautiful. Tell everybody, what are you doing behind the scenes that helps me so much?
Yeah, so I'm taking care of all of the settings, like muting and spotlighting people, making breakout rooms, recording the meeting, really just all of the tech pieces you might think of or not think of. I'm taking care of that.
That is so helpful. And it really is the difference between something looking amateurish and something looking really professional and wanting people to come back to your meeting again. So tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes, so you're welcome to email me at wharton.ari@gmail.com. That's WHARTON.ARI@gmail.com. And you're welcome to email me with any questions and find out how we can work together.
And your rates are so reasonable, it's crazy. So everybody, wharton.ari@gmail. I'm going to try and have it in the show notes. If you can't find her or you don't know how to rewind the podcast, just email. I'll get you connected. Thanks, Ari.
Thanks, Karen.
It is really like we're creating I don't know. They do want you to sit home, and Amazon's going to deliver everything. And because I noticed that, especially a lot of my neighbors, they never stopped getting deliveries. Like I was like, I can't wait to walk to the store, and I still see all their packages come. But that's really, really kind of amazing. Now, this is very interesting. So there really isn't that. So astral projection is really not dangerous. That's how I want to say it.
I think if you're doing the prep work to know how to get in and out of your body, and to kind of just holding your own space within the room that you're working in, I don't think it's that dangerous. It's just having some of those like tools to get in and out. I mean, again, I've dissociated my whole life, so it's really easy for me. So it might be a little bit alarming for some people, when they first kind of work with it. Mm-hmm. But really just, again, having some of those tools, having some of that kind of base sort of work, I think can really, just make it kind of all flow together and just be another tool that you use while you're here.
And when you sort of came up with the guidelines or the way how to do it, was that just from experience and you sort of organized it, or did you learn other ways?
So I did a year of intuitive development with a teacher, with a mentor that gave me a lot of tools, and I took a lot of the tools that she taught me and then also just added to it and kind of intuitively just sort of, I can be this kind of guide for this because I understand what it feels like to get out and then be able to get back into my body. I've also just, again, with having just some mental health, I have to keep my body at a certain balance, and I have to do that with medication right now, because when it's off, I jump far out of my body. And if my body doesn't feel well again, or until it feels well again, I can't get back in because I'm just too far out. And I'll even, not be able to like walk properly because I can't function the body when the rest of me is like floating a couple heads away. Yeah.
Now that's interesting. Yeah. So that that was almost talking about the 3D body in the beginning is there. That's where, so your body has to feel good. Otherwise it's very hard to get back in.
Yeah. If because every once in a while, I take medication to balance my depression and anxiety that I have. So if I'm off, I'll jump out because my body doesn't feel well. And sometimes it will take me like a day or two to get back on my medication being balanced, and then I can sink back in. But if I try to ground in before the body's balanced, it shoots me even further out. And that's where I can't, I lose control of some of just motor function, just being able to walk or pick things up or.
That's very interesting. And two things about that. There's, I have to try and get this girl back on my podcast. We were going to get on and she was awesome. And then we kind of didn't connect. But one of her books was about, she would channel the Orion Army or the Orion Council. And one of the things she said, I don't feel well. And they said, well, that's a perfect time for you to channel because you're already trying to get out of your body. It's already easier with us to communicate with you because you're already trying to get out of your body when you're sick, which I thought was very interesting. Now, could there be a level of what you're talking about with two things? One, with alcohol, okay? Because people kind of are out of their, when people black out with alcohol, I always figure they're out of their body. Is that true or maybe not?
That's interesting. I'm not sure I've thought about it that way. I know that for me, alcohol is like, I'll only go so far with it. I still need to have control of my body because when I start if I were to drink too much, I get too far out of my body and it scares me because it's a different out of body.
Mm-hmm. No, this makes perfect.
And I have to wait. And even, when I was younger and I was partying a lot, I would have to wait until I was sober enough before I went to sleep because it's like a physical thing. It's like I had to wait until I was able to get back in my body to know that I was there. It was kind of like an intuitive thing because I was pretty unconscious at that point, but just as far as like being aware of any of this stuff. But yeah, I had to kind of wait until my body was safe enough to get back in. It's like, okay, now I can start getting ready to go to bed.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I know when people black out, that's when people do things that are not even who they, you know what I mean? That's like not even who they are. Right. And it's almost a trade-off. Is it something else came into the body, or is it that you know what I mean? That maybe you weren't in the body, or maybe it is, maybe we all have a shadow side even darker than we know. which is an interesting concept. If we're all everything and we hit that lower vibration, maybe it changes us into something. But so that's a kind of out of it. So here's the thing. This is really weird, but I'm an athlete. I'm very coordinated. I'm very, and granted, I'm getting older, but getting older is not showing. Maybe on my face it is, but in my body, in my movement, in my energy, it is not. But I don't know why. Since sort of I feel like the ascension started, which I feel like it did kind of start, it probably was going all the time, but it seems like there was a big leap where it started. I am clumsy. I trip. I drop everything. Like it's almost a coordination thing. I'm almost ready to go get checked for Alzheimer's because I can't remember anything. Does that make any sense? Would I perhaps be halfway out of my body? Is that something that could be going on there?
I mean, I wonder. I would definitely, always like the medical stuff. I always check that first. But I also wonder just, something that, again, that my teacher taught me, but that's something that I do all the time is, where is your awareness? Are you behind your eyes in the center of your head? And really getting in there and being able to pull your awareness in. And that's something I really pay attention to. So I wonder, and now because I do it daily, I know exactly where I'm at. It's like, okay, am I in my body? Am I like able to sink in? Am I able to really ground in? So I think, checking the medical stuff first, but then kind of like sitting with where your awareness is. Are you behind your eyes in the center of your head? Or are you kind of like, up and to the left, kind of running around the ceiling somewhere?
Boy, is that a great and interesting statement. I have a question about that because I just started resetting myself every morning with a sound bowl.
Nice.
I put it somewhere so that I wake up in the morning and there it is, and I strike it 3 times. That's a fabulous phrase. Are you in your head, in the center of your brain, behind your eyes? Can you give us a little preview or an exercise or something of how we do that? Because here's the thing. There's a difference between being out of your body and being a daydreamer. I think whenever you see people in the entertainment or artistic fields, there's a daydreamer there, and that's a good thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I wonder how much I'm in that place. Or if that place is more normal than being in my body.
Yeah. And even, with being behind my eyes in the center of my head, like I'm so visual again, because I'm an artist. Like I created like a room that I'm sitting in, and I've got like white leather couches, and like I have a texture to them so that I can really like get in and be embodied. Being embodied is like the huge, people, it's kind of like a buzzword now, is like, what does it mean to be fully embodied? And having that awareness, being able to get in there. And again, sometimes, especially if I've been like getting caught in some kind of social media scroll hole, it'll be really hard for me to get into my body. So I'll picture, again, those energetic roses kind of out in front of my eyes, and I'll just ask them to kind of like suck out some of that sort of unconscious energy that's like blocking me from really getting in there. Because we take this stuff on whether we're aware of it or not, especially on social media. Oh, God. And again, with creating those roses, we're responsible for also destroying them. So I'll ask those roses to come in, pull some of that out so that I can really sink in. And then I'll shoot those roses out into the universe, just explode them. The idea that it'll be recycled back. And then that will help me really sink in, really get in onto my white, beautiful couch that I sit on and like feel into it. And then I start to like scan my central channel and like really kind of get embodied.
Right. Okay. So that all makes sense to me. When you say rose, so you picture a literal 3D red rose in front of you, and it sucks out what you don't need out of your consciousness or even out of your energy, and then it closes up and you shoot it out into space, correct?
Yeah, and it can be anything. Sometimes people will use like balloons.
I even had a vacuum tube.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I had a client that wanted to use a little goat that would just like eat up all the energy. I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter what what the visual is, or what I guess the visual of the modality. It's just that act of like creating something that can intentionally take away the energy, or like, it's all about your intention. So just letting it pull that out of you and then shoot it out and again destroy it. And this is something I do regularly.
And that's how you reset your crown also?
I mean, you can use, sometimes I'll use the roses like to clean my crown up if I feel just like a little bit hazy. I use the roses everything. Do you ever walk through the grocery store and someone starts walking at you and it's like their energy looks like Pigpen? Like it's just everywhere. I'll start throwing roses at them. One, to keep it away from me, and two, to just like suck up any of that extra energy that you can just kind of feel. Or even if there's like a confrontation, someone's being nasty to you, it's something to play around with. What happens if you just start kind of throwing roses out? If you're in a fight with your significant other, what happens if you start throwing those roses out? I find that I won't take on their energy. Like I won't match whatever they're doing. I'm able to just kind of stay more neutral to it. And again, then I shoot them out. I mean, it's something, that act you can use for so many different things.
Sometimes after I left that garden store yesterday, for a while, I was like, what just happened? And then I was like, I just say, I love you all the time. Or I say, I love you to them. I love you to them. And that can change it. I am so big on mirrors. When somebody is like that, when I feel their energy. In fact, this was really interesting. I had a phone conversation with someone who was compromised with some sort of attachment or something on there. And when this person would call, the conversation would start one way, and I would go and get my mirror, and I would hold my mirror up to the phone, and you could literally hear the person pivot from this sort of attacking, mean place to sort of like apologetic. Like it threw the energy back at and it was, I physically took my mirror and held it up to the phone. No. And this was quite an intense, like I said, it was somebody that wasn't just like in a bad mood or something. It was someone that was really compromised by another being. In fact, that's what I should be doing with my neighbors next door, is putting up a mirror. A lot of times I love mirror magic, just putting the mirror up that it faces them so that it reflects back to them. We were going to talk about some witchy stuff. Do you know any mirror stuff for me? I'm fascinated by mirrors.
Well, you're talking about it, and it's like the mirrors almost work the same way as the roses would. It's just like it's a slightly different modality, but the sort of intention is kind of there. And kind of, I guess I haven't used mirrors as much in kind of the witch like spell kind of work that I do. But my witchcraft, what I do is very energetically based. One of the, just like the smallest things that I kind of talk to people about, and the easiest things is creating, and I learned this from one of your guests, Angela Lovell.
Oh yeah.
Is, she's great. The honey pots.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And just having a little jar where you put your intention into it, sweeten it with honey or agave or maple syrup, whatever you want to. I use, now I started using like little colored sprinkles just to, that kind of like match the energy of what I'm trying to work with. And I set that on my altar, and I do that every new and full moon, depending if I'm trying to pull something in or if I'm trying to let something go. But it's even just like having like a small little altar, which might be like the top of your dresser. It's having a space where you're putting intention into something. And I think that's really all witchcraft is. And, you can follow very strict sort of regiments of spells or this or that, or it has to be a certain way. I don't work that way. I just kind of work more organically. I talk to my plants. Mama Mugwort has showed up on my property, and she works with me in the dream space. And, you know, it's just really like having, I guess, just a confidence in trusting yourself and really finding that intuition.
Well, you know what, too? That is probably why your astral class is very important, because, and this is what I found, no matter what it is, if it's astral projection, if it's tarot, if it's psychic stuff, once you accept it, you also have to accept that anything is possible. Anything. Once you've like if you're teaching people that they're leaving their body and then all of a sudden they're having, or ayahuasca or all that stuff, that's not just a trick of the brain. They really have to accept that anything could be possible. And that's what I think the key is to manifesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to come anyway. It's going to, yeah. And yeah, just watching your vibration, watching your mindset, whatever kind of way that you want to move around in this world, like just paying attention to that stuff and how you're interacting with other people. And, you know, we come here. I mean, I really think that we come here to play. We come here to play. We come here to experience like the full gamut of emotions, of interactions. We come here to do some work too, of course, but yeah, so play is like a big part of it.
I think you're exactly right. And it's not that I want to force a mood, but sometimes I get upset with myself when I'm not enjoying things more than I should. I just came off of one of the most intense, fantastic comedy months that I could have had, between shooting a special, doing a new CD, doing the tarot show all over Chicago. Everything I wished for fell together in October. And I kept stopping myself going, are you stressed or are you enjoying this? Because this is the part you're supposed to enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, just sitting, I actually was in Los Angeles vending with my work, and that had been a huge goal. And I kept kind of having to check in with myself and saying like, okay, where are you? Are you here? Where's your body? Like, where's your, like, feeling my body? Like, you know, feeling my hands, making sure that I was staying in my body. And just, I did end up reading tarot while I was vending, which always helps me kind of stay there. But just kind of doing those little check-ins of like, where are you? Are you having fun? Like, what's going on?
Right. Are you enjoying this? Because
yeah. Are you here?
Yeah. If COVID taught us one thing, it's that you may not do that again.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And you know what's amazing? The leaf blower just went on full blast, but we're there. We're at the end. So it's thank you, leaf blower. Thank you for
blasting us away.
So tell people really where to find you. Also, if you want, if there's anything we missed about your astro class, please include it now.
Yes, so you can find me at blackboots.com, and I spell that without any vowels, so it's blckbts.com. You can book readings, astral readings. I have my astral workshop. I have a podcast that I do with two friends called Doors of Perception. So if this conversation was intriguing, you can find us over there at all the places that podcasts are found. And yeah, January 11th for the astral workshop, I look forward to working with people. Again, I'm not just here to like read for you and tell you what's what. I'm here for you to learn, because we can all do this stuff. We all came in with these abilities, and I'm going to give you tools to do that. And I really feel strongly about being able to teach you tools to kind of do this work, you know, without me right there.
And is it a day class or couple of weeks?
It's a 1-day class. I have it at 8 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time. So I think that's about 5 p.m. in your time, Karen. Yeah, just a one-time thing for now. And if it feels like people want kind of a little bit more of that travel work, because, you know, travel work is so fun. It may grow from there, but for now it's just a one-day class.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, my dear.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun.
Anytime. And you got to check out the stuff she makes. It's just fantastic. Fantastic. I love it. I've actually mentioned it on my podcast before. because I like it so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks, Shannah. And thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. And folks, check out my Patreon. There's a $3 level, a $15 level, or get a reading at karenrontowski.com. I always forget to do an ad for myself. And I'll have more comedy dates coming and some comedy content on my Patreon. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you next week.